ultimately, with martial arts, there is a transformation of empowerment. And through empowerment, you come into alignment with yourself. And when you come into alignment with yourself, I mean, for me, that is the definition of happiness. That alignment with yourself, with your inner being, as well as alignment with source energy. And so when you're stepping into your power, whether you're performing a kata, which is a form, or just knowing when I head out in the streets that I'm going to be confident, I'm going to shine, I know how to take care of myself, that is real power. That is happiness to me.
How do we increase our happiness and connection through martial arts? And as women, are we really victims? And how can we help our young girls to stay safe? Hi, I'm Nicole Sharanam, and today on Connectedly, we are talking to Sensei Sheryn Gung. Sensei Sheryn is an amazing martial artist, oriental health practitioner, spiritual coach, a mother, a writer, a presenter, and my friend. She's a select wellness expert with Wellbeing Magazine and TV. And Sheryn has studied with some of the world's most renowned masters in her disciplines. Her experience spans over 3 decades in the martial arts and over 2 decades in the health and wellbeing field. Her mission is to empower, educate, and inspire with the wisdom of traditional oriental martial and healing arts and self-defense. And she's a barrel of fun and joy. So let's see what she has to say. Hi, Sheryn. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks, Nicole. How are you?
I'm really good. It's so nice to have you on here. And for all of the listeners of Connectedly, Sheryn and I are actually friends, and our daughters go to kinder together. So I secretly know her. So this is just like us having a phone chat, which is really lovely.
Yeah, so for the listeners today, you kind of get kind of a fly on the wall sort of perspective into what we usually talk about. Kind of. A little bit more exploration into self-defense today, and less bitching about our husbands.
I love that. Shh, we don't do that. What are you talking
Not
about?
at all.
Okay, so Sheryn, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, because you are a very inspiring woman and you are always busy. You're an intentional liver. I shouldn't say you're busy. You are always doing things that bring you greater happiness. At least that's what I see from the outside. It seems like you're always doing things for the greater good of, yourself, your peace, your calmness and your health, but also for your family. And often what I see is for your daughter. So I can't wait to share your wisdom with everybody here.
Sure, I can't wait to share it.
Okay, so tell us first of all a little bit about what you do. Let's introduce you and what you do.
So my name is Sheryn. I'm often known as Sensei Sheryn because I am predominantly a martial arts instructor. So I'm in the oriental martial and healing arts. I do practice a number of martial arts. The main martial art I teach is traditional Goju-ryu karate. And in terms of the healing arts, I also practice shiatsu, Japanese needle therapy, moxibustion, that sort of thing. And hand in hand with martial arts, I'm also a self-defense instructor.
Wow, that's already huge. And I think for some of us that don't know martial arts, what exactly is it? Like, what do you do? Is it karate? Is it taekwondo? Like, what are you doing? Tell us.
Yeah, so martial arts, I mean, a lot of people equate martial arts to self-defense. And in fact, when I ask my students what the translation of karate is, they often say it's self-defense, which is wrong. It's a misnomer, actually. Karate itself means empty-handed because you're not using any weapons. You're using your bare hands to defend yourself. Self-defense is only one small aspect of martial arts. So the way that I like to see it is kind of self-defense often gives you the bare bones. It gives you what you need to be able to defend yourself on the streets, whereas martial arts is much more encompassing. You've got the Zen philosophy, you've got the lifestyle, and ultimately, especially through the way that I train, which is known as Budo. Budo translates as martial way. It's about personal development. So it's not about the trophies, it's not about the belts, it's not about beating people up in cage fights. There's a time and place for all of that, just not what I'm involved in. In Budo, the Budo path is much more aligned with, say, the yogic path, where it is all about that inner work that accompanies the physical development.
Wow. So then, Sheryn, why would I be interviewing you, do you think, when we're talking about happiness? Is there some kind of connection there?
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, with martial arts, there is a transformation of empowerment. And through empowerment, you come into alignment with yourself. And when you come into alignment with yourself, I mean, for me, that is the definition of happiness. That that alignment with yourself, with your inner being, as well as alignment with source energy. And so when you're stepping into your power, whether you're performing a kata, which is a form, or for me, teaching students, or just kind of knowing when I head out in the streets that I'm going to be confident, I'm going to shine, I know how to take care of myself. That is real power. That is happiness to me.
So do you see a lot of women kind of coming in and what do you call is it a studio? I know ballet, I don't know martial arts. What do you call your room that you work in?
It's called a dojo. So a dojo is basically a training horse that's used for Japanese martial arts.
A dojo. Here I am calling you a ballet studio. So the women that come into your dojo, are you seeing a transformation that happens? Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So whether it's my dojo or whether it's with other women that I train with, this transformation is really, it's quite subtle. And a lot of women typically will start. I'm just going to acknowledge, first of all, it takes a lot of courage to step into a dojo as an adult student, whether you're male or female. It takes a lot of courage. You're starting something new. Martial arts is usually embarked upon when you're like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, it's not something that a lot of adults do. They have to really step out of their comfort zone to do it. So for a woman, it might be that she's just wanting to have her me time, which is often, the case, wanting to empower herself, wanting to learn the self-defense techniques, wanting to build her confidence, right down to the other extreme. If she has been in an abusive relationship, for instance, and not wanting to be in that situation again. There are many, many reasons a woman might want to take up a martial art. So self-defense is a little bit different. Like I said, it's just one aspect of martial arts. So self-defense is typically just the physical component with only a little bit of the psychology brought in. But the way that I like to teach it is it's both energetic and physical self-defense. So I'm bringing in a lot more of the energetic and the psychological components of self-defense.
Wow. So I really envisage that there's a lot of internal work happening, not just this external hoya, hoya kind of stuff.
Yeah, with martial arts, there's definitely an internal component. It's kind of likened to saying yoga is all about stretches, or just about the poses or what have you. So people see the external expression of martial arts. They see, the fast, snappy punches or the kicks, etc. They see the beautiful kata or the forms. They don't know what the practitioner has had to go through in order to get to where they are. So for me, I've been doing martial arts for almost 3 decades now, and it's like from where I was, and of course, age comes into it as well, but from where I was and where I was when I started and how I felt about myself to where I am now, it's a completely different person. So definitely there's a transformation there. And you're saying that, what you felt martial arts was all about the hiya, and that's what that's kind of the common stereotype of martial arts. And I'm just going to take that snippet because there is so much in that. For a woman to be able to vocalize, to use a battle cry, in Japanese we call it kiai, that takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of her stepping into her power. To do it properly, it's not just about using your voice box. You actually have to draw on the power deep from within the hara. Hara is the Japanese word for belly. So it's coming deep from within, kind of your deepest resolve, basically, your true spirit. And there's a couple of reasons to do it. First of all, if you use a battle cry in the middle of conflict or middle of being attacked, you can potentially scare away your attacker. And second of all, if you do it, you might be able to potentially attract onlookers who might be willing to come and help you. And, especially if you're a woman, hopefully, we still have a little bit of chivalry in this society. I'm not quite sure about that. But yes, that's typically the case. You want to attract people to come and help you. Now, with a typical self-defense instructor who looks like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're big military men, they don't know what it's like to be a small female, to be timid, to not be able to step into her power because of perhaps programming or patterning or past experiences where she was told, hey, good girls don't actually speak up. Go and get your back against that wall and look pretty. We'll ask for your opinion when it's needed. Now, when you've got that kind of deep-seated psychology that has been ingrained in you since you were a little girl, and then all of a sudden, some big guy is telling you, hey, just get in there and do it. Just go and scream. The two don't merge. There has to be those intermediate points. It takes a lot for a woman to actually stand there and do a battle cry, let alone in the heat of conflict when she's scared, when her adrenaline was actually kicked in. So, that in itself is symbolic of the transformation that can occur through martial arts and self-defense.
It's amazing. I actually got goosebumps when you started talking about what it takes for a woman to be able to vocalize. And whilst I can sit here now and make the noise in jest, you're totally right. Even when you're in a dojo and you're trying, as you said, it takes courage to walk into that room. It takes further courage. I remember situations when you're the first person, it's the first time you've tried a class, whether it's yoga or whether it's meditation, and you've got to make om noises and everyone's, looking at you. That takes courage. So you're totally right. Let alone when you're actually in a situation where you really need to use noise to protect yourself and defend yourself. So I got absolute goosebumps. You're totally right.
And so many women won't get themselves to that point, because again, because of what we've kind of been conditioned to be. And ultimately, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We don't want to cause trouble. What if this guy who we think is hassling us isn't actually doing anything wrong? Is there a chance of that? And what if people are going to take his side, even though I'm feeling really uncomfortable in his presence and he keeps pushing me and pushing me? I don't feel comfortable going home with him. It's all that kind of stuff where it's very, very layered. And that's where it's like, okay, things like boundaries come into place, things like, yes, finding your voice, using your voice. It's all these other aspects, the psychological aspects that are built into the way that I teach self-defense. And it's not only psychology of a woman, it's a psychology of the attacker as well. What is he looking for when he is eyeing off his potential prey?
Mm. Wow. Well, let's focus on you specifically, because I know it's difficult to sometimes talk about everyone else's transformation. Let's specifically talk about your connection to yourself and happiness. How did that change for you going through this martial arts process and the oriental arts?
Yeah. Okay. So, wow, that's quite a huge question. I'll start first by, I guess, kind of sharing my experience and how I changed through the journey of martial arts. Like I kind of hinted at before, I was a completely different person when I stepped into the dojo. And the story behind why I stepped into the dojo, it's a little bit different to why most students do. So inevitably nowadays, when I take in new students, I'll ask, what are your reasons for wanting to learn karate with me? And it will be usually self-confidence, self-defense, etc. For me, I was at that point of time, I had just turned 13. I was at that point of time where I felt so bad about myself. I felt so bad about who I was. And I felt like such a failure at everything I did. And I went, and then Dad had taken months to get me to the dojo, by the way. So my siblings were already learning, and he was kind of encouraging me and encouraged me. And I just finally went, okay, I'll do it, because I'm just going to prove this is going to be one more thing that I'm really, really terrible at. And of course, that didn't happen that way. I was actually had quite a bit of potential there, which I'm really glad I had. My teacher at the time was really great at drawing out my confidence. So it was that complete lack of self-esteem. So it was not even just lack of confidence. It was lack of self-esteem. Like, I actually hated myself. So going through all of that and then eventually reaching young adulthood, where I was blossoming into a young woman. And it was just so ironic that I was able to find and connect with my feminine divine through being in the dojo. And it was really through contrast. It was really interesting. It was like, okay, I actually can't train like a man anymore. There's going to be a point in time in my life where I can't do hundreds and hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups. I actually have to start peeling back a bit. I still love my martial arts, but what else is out there? What else is out there that will support me in my journey and support me in exploring Ju, which is soft in Japanese? And the style that I do is Go Ju. But the way that I had been training there was mostly Go, which is hard. And I really wanted to embrace that softness and to keep learning, because I'm always going to be a lifelong student of it. And so that was where my journey in the internal arts started, the Chinese internal martial arts, the Tai Chi, Qigong, Bagua, etc. So it was really through all of that I kind of went, okay, I am who I am. I'm not going to be able to, do, fight off, hundreds of men at the same time in sparring, etc. But this is what I can do, and I can own it and really celebrate it. I'm a woman, and I should step into that space and really own this body, and not trying to be a woman who wants to be a man or who aspires to be a man. I am just a woman, and there is power in that, and it's time for me to own it.
I love that.
So that was my own kind of transformation. And what was the second part of your question?
Oh, I don't even remember now, but I will ask you something else, because what I loved that you just mentioned was about the balance of that feminine and masculine, because often I know in my own life I've done, even with yoga, I was doing Ashtanga yoga for a while, and I started seeing it almost like, to start with, it was beautiful and it was calm and I was peaceful. I was with my breath. And then suddenly it started becoming almost like a competitive thing. And I started trying to really embrace almost like the push-up of the downward dog, and I was really getting into it, and I started becoming this masculine tip, that I completely lost the balance. So I think what you've said is so amazingly powerful about stepping into our feminine, even in that, because we can lose that so easily, can't we?
Absolutely. I think it's, especially since becoming a mother as well, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. And suddenly the feminine divine changes. We go through another rite of passage when we're mothers. And what does that look like for an advanced female martial artist? So many of us drop off. We really do. And there's just no time and space to handle the whole work, life, kids, the whole crazy balance. And yeah, that was the one thing that I was determined to keep on throughout even early motherhood and pregnancy. Like I'm pregnant with my second child now, and I'm still training. And it's not like I'm doing sparring or anything like that, but there are definitely different aspects of the martial arts, having been in here for so long, that I can embrace and go, okay, this is what's actually suiting me at this time. It's time to honor myself. I can get back to really physical work later on, but this is not the right time.
It's hard, isn't it? As a woman who's, got the pleasure of having children, and, you've already have one, so you know the journey and you know what's involved and you know what your body is going to require and the amount of energy. It is difficult still to feel like you can't do what you used to do.
Yeah.
You can't. And how do you overcome that? Have you got any tips or skills in how you overcome that for other mothers who might be trying to progress in what they're doing?
Yeah, sure. So away from pregnancy is a different ball game. I do have, I'm definitely in that mindset where even on a day-to-day basis, I'm going, okay, it's evening time now. I am completely swollen. I feel like this massive sausage Michelin man thing. I can't pick up things off the ground anymore. So you feel quite disempowered, but away from all of that, and yes, I acknowledge it's a beautiful thing. Men can't do what we can do in terms of creating children. But in terms of being a mother in general, I think for me, through my experience, it really comes down to two things. It is simplifying. That was really important for me. Just going, okay, there's only so much I can do in a day. What needs to be done? Let's prioritize here. And where can I actually engage help? And it took us a long time, but we kind of eventually just decided, part of it was not our decision. We also had COVID lockdowns, which prevented this. But we ultimately found a wonderful cleaner, because I would spend weekends cleaning. And on beautiful days, such as it is today in beautiful Surf Coast, I would much rather be out there with my family on paddle boards or, relaxing on the beach than cleaning shower rooms and toilets. It's like, why am I doing this when I'm not enjoying it? So if you are in a position to, that's something that I would really encourage. Where can you actually enlist other people to help you so your life can become simplified and you can actually enjoy most of your life? And the other part of it is self-compassion. Self-compassion is huge for mothers. We are so hard on ourselves. And if you kind of look at the roles we have to play now, it is so different from the generation before and the generation before. We are expected to be working mothers now. And if we are not, for instance, there are some mums who are so stable and happy. I won't say just, because there's no just, but being a staying-at-home mum and looking after their children. And yet so often they feel like they have to justify it because society expects more. Or on the flip side, if you are a woman who've chosen not to have children, sometimes you feel like you have to justify that as well. So, yeah, I think really, who gives a damn what society thinks? So that's kind of, the bottom line. But yeah, it's just that self-compassion. We kind of anticipate other people are going to judge us for whatever decisions we make. We are ultimately responsible for our own decisions and our own happiness. And it's like, okay, I'm a stay-at-home mum, and I don't intend to go back to the workforce for a number of years, but I'm really happy where I am. And there's such security in saying something like that, so yeah, just having that self-compassion, being easy on yourself, not caring what other people think.
And really, owning what you're doing fully. I love that. That's really strong. And just for the record, you do not look like a sausage. You look beautiful.
Oh, you're too kind.
Oh, but I know that feeling all too well. I'm sure all of us mothers do. So what are you most passionate about right now? Is there something in particular that really kind of is your latest kind of like, this is my thing and this is what I want to share with the world?
Yeah, right now I am creating my beautiful program, which is called Soul Warrior. So it will be a combination of online as well as private coaching. And it's basically the culmination of my experience in so many different areas. So you've got the physical self-defense, you've got the psychological aspects, as well as the energetic protection. So through Soul Warrior, I really want to take the woman through that journey of transformation of empowerment, and relay what I've witnessed and what I've experienced in the martial arts into a self-defense course, because I know it's totally doable. The two are so closely related. So I'm super excited to bring this out to the world.
That sounds amazing. So we'll make sure that in the show notes we put a link to that program. Is that live now, or is it?
It's not live yet.
Soon?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Okay.
I'm creating it. But yeah,
Okay.
The best way to find out more about it is to jump straight onto my mailing list, and you'll be the first to know. Okay. So I'm sure in the show notes you'll have my website there, so you can jump.
I will.
And I'll be so welcoming of you just to connect with me and answer any questions you might have.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. So Sheryn, from your understanding of what you teach in all its holistic glory, because you do a lot of things, how does it all kind of help women to embrace that connection to themselves and their own happiness?
Oh,
big questions, hey?
It's a big question. I think overall in everything that I do under the umbrella of the Oriental Arts, fundamentally, it comes down to Taoism. Taoism provides the framework. So whether you're looking at the yin-yang theory or 5 elements, etc., it informs and influences the martial arts as well as the healing arts, as well as things like feng shui, as well as things like astrology, etc. And in Taoism, there is a really important concept known as Wu Wei, and that translates as effortless effort. So with effortless effort, the ancients totally had this right. It's about living in harmony with nature. It's going with the flow of life. Yes, there is action, but it's action that is enjoyable, where you're not striving. And in this way, we can really just be present and enjoy our lives. So I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks as well, and they use the term path of least resistance. It's the same thing. So before Abraham Hicks, before kind of New Age spirituality, so to speak, there was this term, Wu Wei. And I guess when you're following that, and even in the martial arts, especially in the Chinese internal martial arts, where it's so soft and there's so much flow, you really get to embody that and feel that, where you're going with the flow and you're not working with force, not working with resistance. It just feels so easy. And really, that sense of ease is something that can be relayed to the entirety of your life if you follow this principle of Wu Wei. It's like so many of us are striving and fighting. I think it's kind of in the Australian psyche, really. We want to be the great Aussie battler, and it's kind of like, oh, I worked hard and long in order to earn this house or earn this and earn that, and that whole feeling of wanting to strive and earn things so it looks like you deserve it more. That's really quite warped. It's kind of like, okay, so what happens if I didn't? Not that I don't work hard, but I work smart. I do things that I enjoy. Am I less deserving of these things? No, I'm not. I deserve a beautiful house. I deserve to live in nature. I deserve to have a beautiful family. So really, hopefully that answers your question. Through living with Wu Wei in alignment with source, in harmony with nature, in harmony with the flow of life, that really, you just exude happiness. There's a lot of place for happiness, and you're much less likely to present with illnesses and disease then, because there is ease. There will not be, or there will be less chance of disease. So from a health aspect, at the very least, it's something that really supports our life.
So when we talk about kind of connection to self and body, mind, spirit, and all of the connection holistically, are there things that you do specifically, like rituals? Is there anything you do that helps you build greater connection?
Yeah, just little practices. I think from early motherhood, when I actually did suffer from bad postnatal depression, and when I was trying to get myself back on my feet. Apart from trying to really get on top of my sleep, which was a big part of it, I formulated my what I call my 5 base practices. So base practices are kind of like non-negotiables, except they're negotiable because you're in early motherhood and everything has to be negotiable. You have to be flexible with it. So even today, it's just the regular practice of things like meditation and journaling. For me, some sort of movement, so whether it's my martial arts or doing a workout, very often both. If I'm not pregnant, I'll do both. And creative expression as well, which is quite important to me. So I think having those 5 base practices for every woman, especially in early motherhood, will kind of encourage her to be in touch with who she was pre-motherhood. There's that whole, it's widely talked about how we lose that sense of self. We lose our identity to some extent when we step through that ring of fire and become a mother. We take that rite of passage, and so many women feel lost. And I certainly kind of got to that stage as well, where I was just with my baby, and it's just like the umpteenth Disney song that I was singing to her, and I felt like a singing cow. That was all I was, just a singing cow. And I just went, what is this life? This is not what I had expected. This is not what I wanted. And so I had to slowly regain who I was. And that was my way of doing it. Just going, okay, a little bit at a time, just even if it's just 15 minutes, and eventually became half an hour. And then eventually it's like, oh, okay, I'm Sheryn again. I feel like Sheryn again.
And I love your honesty, by the way. I think that's beautiful. I think that a lot of us feel like singing cows.
It is so brutal, but it is really what you feel like in that stage. And I'm back into singing cow mode in March, by the way. So
just the simplicity of doing the 5 things, I guess, that work for you. And I love that it's not negotiable, but negotiable. There we go. Yeah. Got it out. Which is so important, I think, that we have boundaries for ourselves that are a little bit more flexible as mothers, and we're especially when we're pregnant, but once their baby's born as well, I think is very important. Have you got any tricks as a pregnant mother of how to really connect with self or find happiness? Have you got any tricks that you're doing right now that help you?
Oh, okay. So one tip that I can give, and it's something that I try to practice as often as possible. So this is something that is just as important in self-defense and martial arts as it is in just mindfulness and happiness. And it's really when you're outside to be mindful when you're walking and to really observe what's going around you, to be present. Especially as busy mums, our minds are just going, we're just in overdrive with everything that we're thinking about. We're planning 3 hours ahead what we're going to have for dinner, or how we're going to get a little girl to ballet and then to karate or what have you. There's just so much planning that goes on that very rarely do we get that time to just be still and just to be where you are. Now, from a self-defense and martial arts perspective, I always say that awareness is pretty much the first step. It's pretty much the first step, along with intuition, but it's a different topic. It's pretty much the first step, because if you are aware of your surroundings, there's a lot that you can prevent. You can escape potential conflict simply from awareness. And that's really the best case scenario, So from a self-defense or martial arts perspective, the greatest enemy that we have to awareness is distraction. And what is the number one distraction in this day and age? It is tech. Absolutely.
Oh, tech. I was going to say my mind.
Oh, thought you were pointing to your headphones, which is also correct. So yes, you can be simply distracted from your thoughts, by your thoughts, I should say. But so many of us are distracted because of what we're hearing, with our headphones. And I'm like, what's wrong with just listening to nature? If you put headphones on, ultimately you can't hear if someone's coming up behind you to grab you. From a real practical perspective, if you don't have your headphones on, that's not going to stop someone from trying to attack you from behind, but you've got that little bit, you've got a few seconds lead up, going, okay, something's happening here, I can hear footsteps behind me. And that every second counts in a self-defense situation. Now, headphones are one thing where you're just, I always say we're kind of voluntarily blocking off a safety mechanism that Mother Nature gave us. Like for me, it's just stupidity. We don't go jogging blind, and yet we go jogging with headphones on. The other part of it is phones. I mean, it's rampant in society where people are just walking around with their heads stuck in their phones. So not only are they being distracted with their sight, they're focused on what's happening on their phones, they're distracted through audio as well, very often. And their whole focus is channeled into this device. Now, if their focus is in their device, how aware are they of the world around them? Zero, zilch, nothing. It is so easy. Like if I was an attacker, again, talking about the psychology of an attacker, and a woman was like that, I'll be like, oh my God, this is just like shooting fish in a barrel. It's so, so easy. And it's not only preventing yourself from being potentially attacked by an assailant. So many reports of, and unreported, unfortunately, of people being hit by trains, hit by cars, simply because of technology. So just that little tip alone, just be aware, ditch the devices when you go out and just be aware and enjoy what's around you. Be present with your thoughts. That's going to do a lot for your sense of awareness, yes, but your sense of mindfulness and presence, and also your safety.
So true. And I think we're all guilty of those moments where but I'm busy and I've got things to do and I'm a mother and I'm multitasking and, I just got to quickly, I've got 2 seconds to respond to a text or check my Instagram or, so you're walking along the street and it's so easy to fall into that. Yeah. But I understand that importance. Do you have any tricks around that? Like, how do you then get what you need to do? I mean, knowing that our devices are where a lot of our work gets done these days, how do you manage that?
Yeah, there's definitely a time and place for them. There's a reason we have our devices, because they are convenient. You have to be in a safe place. So, for example, just the phone, because that's a really common one. I would do it from the safety of my car. Quickly pump out my text message, or or leave a voice note, etc. If you are out and about, so for example, if you're waiting for your hubby to come and pick you up, it's nighttime, he needs to pick you up from a bus stop, then get your back up against the wall, or something against a tree or against the bus stop, against the wall, etc. It's just so you can't be attacked from behind. Quickly send that text message or make that phone call and observe. Look at everything around you, send it, and then put that phone away. Do not fall into the trap of going onto social media in that circumstance, because it's far too easy to be a victim, or to attract unnecessary things, So that's definitely my best tip for it. Just to make sure that you're in a safe position to quickly communicate, and then to put your device away and keep being aware, keep observing things around you while you're waiting for that ride or what have you.
It's funny because as you're talking, something that comes up for me is I want to feel like there's this part of me that isn't a victim. I want to feel like, yes, I'm a woman, but why does that automatically make me a victim? It makes me get kind of triggered, because I'm like, but I want to go outside and I want to be able to do just what men do. I want to be able to be in that world. So there's a part of me that just wants to not ignore it, but argue that. But then I know the truth within me as well. I know that unfortunately, if I am out at night on my own, which I just don't really do, I mean, it doesn't happen because probably I'm aware of the truth. I mean, what do you feel about that?
That's really interesting. I feel that because women are more often targeted, it doesn't necessarily make us victims. Being a victim starts first and foremost in your mind. And it really starts from stages before a conflict ever occurs. It starts with how you vibrate. It starts with how you feel about yourself. It starts with things like establishing your boundaries. So if you don't act like a victim, no one else is going to treat you like a victim either. So yes, we do have that reality of we can very well be attacked, especially if you're a small woman like myself. But it's also by controlling your vibration, you also control your experience and your reality. I'm going to vibrate confidence when I step out there. I'm going to be like a frill-neck lizard sticking out my frills. It's like, if you come near me, you will be sorry. I am a loud, strong woman. Doesn't matter how small I am. I'm a loud, strong woman. And you are going to get caught. Doesn't matter what you try to do to me. And you will probably have your limbs broken as well. So when you project that sort of energy, that sort of vibe, it's like they don't want to mess with you, because attackers ultimately are bullies. They're just bigger versions of bullies. And as we know about bullies, they're cowards. They will go for things that it's easy prey. It's easy prey that they're after. So what I like to say with self-defense, or the way that I teach self-defense is self-care leveled up. Because if you think of the word self-care, there is nothing that speaks more to caring about yourself than actually caring about yourself, looking after yourself in a situation that demands the most, when you're out in the street being attacked. And it's like, oh my God, I've got these skills, I've got this know-how, I can actually look after myself. I don't need someone else. I definitely don't need a man to come and save me. Your whole psychology changes. The whole way you feel about yourself, what you project, completely changes. So even just having that knowledge, that awareness of yourself, it's like nothing else. It's like, okay, the way that I kind of like to put it is, if you've got car insurance, for instance, chances are you'll never get into a bungle in that particular year that you've got car insurance, but you've just got it. You've got it there, and you've got it there to help you. It's going to make you feel a lot safer when you go and drive out in the streets, just in case anything happens. And in that way, self-defense can act as an insurance policy, but so much more than that, because you are worth so much more than your car.
Yeah, so true. And I feel the power in what you're saying about the vibration where you're at, and not going out there feeling and telling yourself that you're the victim, but rather empowering yourself with the knowledge and the wisdom, and also raising your vibration enough to a place where you are radiating from a strength place. I think that sounds so strong. So what about for our kids? So obviously both of us have daughters. What would you say to them? What can we do now as mothers to help our younger girls, and boys, but I'm mostly focusing on women here. So what can we do for them?
This is such a great question, and one that I love. I love this question. The best thing we can do is to encourage our girls to step into their power, period. Now, both of us have confident young girls, so we're very blessed that way. From my experience, it's a lot easier, if need be, to get them to hone in on their confidence and all of their vivacity, to get them to tone it down a little bit, than to draw that confidence out of a young girl. It's a lot easier to work from where we are. So, just a couple of months ago, I was so super proud of my daughter, because she was basically, there was another boy, a friend at school, and he's bigger than her, and he was being picked on by a couple of other kids from the other class, and she was guarding him, and she just standing in front of him, guarding him, and just saying, "Stop, you're hurting him." And she kept on doing that until the teachers came and intervened. And I went, yes, that's exactly the kind of skills that I need you to demonstrate right now. You didn't use your fists, you didn't bite, you didn't hit, you used your words, and you used your assertiveness. So that's absolutely the best thing that we can do for our young girls at this stage. So just so listeners know the age of our children. So Nicole's daughter is 5 years old. My one's turning 5. So we're looking at kindergarten coming into prep. That in itself will just establish the roots to strong, independent women who know who they are, know how to stand in the world, to project their confidence, and to attract good things in their lives as well.
And can they, at that age, like what age can a kid start coming to learn martial arts?
It depends on the type of martial art. It depends on the culture of the dojo or the dojang, etc. Yeah, I do take students at the age, so around the 4 or 5 age, even a little bit younger. It starts off as really basic skill building and just learning things like how to use your voice and things like roles, etc. They actually don't have a lot of coordination at that stage, so I try to develop that. And then it's really kind of when they step into real primary school mode. So kind of around the 7 or 8 years old that they kind of can take it a little bit more seriously then.
Mm, sounds like it would be a really fun class.
Oh yeah, I like to think so. You're going to have to ask my students that. No, I'm kidding. They do tend to have a lot of fun.
So we're going to have a quick fire round. So just 5 quick questions. What's your favorite book? It can be either just now or of all time.
My favorite book is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron because it encouraged me to take myself seriously as a creative.
Beautiful. What are you trying to unlearn?
Oh, this is an interesting one. What am I trying to unlearn? Right now, as I stand, I'm trying to unlearn the frustrations that come with having a pregnant body and just really be in the mindset of celebrating the miracle that's happening. And just to let go of all the, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, I can't do this sort of feeling.
What's the best advice about happiness that you've ever been given?
Happiness is a choice.
I want that on a t-shirt. So good. If you could wave a fairy wand, which I know our girls do all the time, what would you change about the world?
My initial answer was to go really cliche and just order world peace. But I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. And that is for people to come into alignment with their truth, with their inner being, come into alignment with source energy so they can make better decisions for themselves and for other people. And it just ripples out into the community, into their country.
I love that. Thank you. That's so sweet. Tell us one practical tool that we can put into practice today that can increase our happiness.
One practical tool? Yep. It was just what I said before about mindful walking, really observing and taking in everything around you, really engaging your senses and being grateful as well of the beautiful world that we live in.
That's so nice. Thank you so much, Sheryn. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you. And I think especially everyone will agree with me that you have this humor and joy that is just a pleasure to kind of witness and share in. And also the visuals that you use are remarkable. It just helps us to share in your joy. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Talk soon. Wasn't Sheryn fun? Oh gosh, she's so joyous. Thanks for being here today. Here's the takeaways. Martial arts is focused on the internal as well as the external. There's a lot that's included in the class, not just the discipline, but also how to learn, how to be aware and remain in a space that brings confidence so that when you step outside, you exude that. Balance feminine and masculine in your workouts, work and life to increase your connection to self and your happiness. You don't always have to win. You don't always have to compete with the men. You can choose to stay in a place that is balanced, where you have both the yin and the yang and the feminine and the masculine working for you. Stay safe with your awareness. Put your phone down, headphones off, be aware of your space. Listen to the noises around you. Stay aware and stay present. Victimhood comes from your mindset. Learn to reside in a place of power instead of in victimhood. You can choose that vibration. You can choose to find ways that you feel confident in stepping out of your house and learn the skills to be able to defend as well as to remain calm internally as well as protect yourself externally. Keep our kids safe. Help them to understand their own power. And they can enroll in karate from a young age, especially with Sensei Sheryn. The links are below. Thanks again for listening, everybody. This has just been another amazing episode, and this journey has been so rewarding. So please drop me a note. I want to hear from you. What do you want to hear about next week? Tell me about your journey. Tell me about what you want to hear. Let's talk and let's get this conversation really flowing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you again for for joining us. You are loved and you are worthy. Talk soon.